Welcome to the studio at That Nerd Show. I'm Marcus Blake, doing a film festival interview with director George King, and we are talking about his film, the Thumbs Up for Mother Universe: Stories from the Life of Lonnie Holley. And for those of you that don't know who Lonnie Holley is, he is a Alabama artist and musician, and we're going to talk a little bit about him. George, do you know Lonnie, or did you know him before you tackled this project?
No, in short order, I was interested in a lot of so-called sort of self-taught artists from Alabama that emerged in the 90s and were really making this amazing content with passion and creativity. So I started interviewing curators and gallerists and makers and all sorts of people about this. And then one day I drove over to meet Lonnie Holley as, part of my research. And by the end of the afternoon, I realized we dumped all the other footage. I've actually never looked at it since. And just went, okay, why make any? I mean, this guy has it all. He's
right.
He talks. He's very verbal. He makes up language, and he's a killer artist. I mean, literally a killer artist. He's right now, I might add, even as we speak, he's at Elaine de Kooning's studio on Long Island. Elaine de Kooning, the former widow of Bill de Kooning, and where he's been working as a resident, apparently making phenomenal work at a breakneck pace for the last month. So.
Well, I really admit I heard about him in college when I was, doing art classes, and, once you get past all the stuff that you normally talk about, Renaissance periods and blah, blah, and you start talking about contemporary American art, Alabama is not the place where you think is a mecca of art. But I had really professors who were like, here are artists who are doing it. Here is a different take on it that you're not going to read in textbooks.
Excellent.
And I was reminded of that when this came across, our desk, that there was a documentary about him. I find him extremely fascinating. And it kind of reminds me of the quote by Aristotle that the aim of art is to hold the mirror up to nature. And here is someone in the South who grew up in the Jim Crow era, who really does hold that mirror up to the South. And I don't want to say everything that's wrong with it, but its own demons of how it does look at humanity and race and stuff like that. So my next question is this: what was the most fascinating thing that you found about Lonnie when you met him for the first time?
Well, I mean, he has this kind of 90-minute speech that he will launch into. I had seen other films and things by him, so I kind of knew what to expect, and in fact, it helped me determine the film I didn't want to make, because 6 other people had already made the same film, it seemed to me. So, difficult to say. I mean, he claims to be one of 27 children. He was sold as an infant for a pint of whiskey. He was nearly beaten to death in an Alabama slave camp. I mean, it goes on and on and on. And I mean, you could tell Lonnie stories, all day and all night. So, it's the film is loaded up with quite a few. So it's I'll leave it at that for the time being.
Okay. Music. I know that artists kind of get into different things, but his music is very different, but also very poignant. When did he start? Because had he always been doing that? Because I mean, his albums didn't come out till like in the last, 10 years.
Yeah, exactly. I think, in fact, 2012, I might be wrong there, off by a year, but was his first album. Yeah, the answer is yes, he's made music all his life. When I first met him, we're talking about, 1997, he would sing, literally wandering around. He'd be wandering around the woods, making art, leaving it there sometimes, and just moving on. And he would sing while he would make things. And at first I thought this is some sort of a conceit, somebody told him
Right.
this is cool or something. Then I realized, actually, no, this is integral to his sort of self-expression. And he sings whatever's going through his mind. I mean, like a rapper sometimes will sing about the fact that he's being interviewed by you in the middle of the rap. Lonnie does, is also, because he's so in the present, does very similar sorts of things. So I may be the first person who actually ever recorded him making music in 1997. And I wasn't even sure why I was recording him, because I thought, really, there's no value in this. It's not anything that anybody's going to sit there and listen to for any length of time. It's extraordinary, and totally original, but et cetera, et cetera. Well, how short-sighted I was. I did record an hour of his music. And I said to him before we started, I said, Lonnie, if you could sing something, maybe about your life, about your early life, or something like this, because I'm thinking we could use this as a narrative strand in the film, if we could get something like this. So it was about a month later that I actually had the time to sit down and carefully go through the footage and watch and listen to exactly what we had. And I realized he actually sung his life story in like an hour. And
Okay.
But it's incredibly, unless you know it, you probably would miss it. It's because, anyway. So he subsequently has, what should I say, under Matt Arnett, his managers kind of, and various musicians, he's subsequently molded his music into something which certainly uses the same improvisational skills and passion, but is now much more focused, and he's become an amazing performer.
Yeah. Well, like I said, in doing more research on him, I just found it extremely fascinating with his music and stuff, and again, wondered if he had been doing that all of his life. In kind of delving into his story, artists are, like anything, sometimes they're products of their environment. Do you feel like that Lonnie, I mean, as gifted as he is, and as an embodiment of art that he is, do you feel like if he hadn't been in the South, it would be very different, or maybe he wouldn't be as well received?
Oh, no question. I mean, he is a son of the South.
Yeah.
He's a son of Alabama. He's very identifiably a strong Black man. And this was one of the things that appealed to me when I met him. I mean, I thought, this man is going to confound a whole lot of people's prejudices, frankly.
Yeah.
Because, you look at him, he looks like a homeless person. And so you immediately bring in all of this baggage that you're about to append onto this man, and he will just blow you away with either a couple of songs or a piece of art or his speech. I mean, Lonnie's an amazing talker. So he tells stories, et cetera, et cetera. So yeah, he's identifiably Southern, and and represents an incredibly important slices of history and culture, which many folks in this country just don't know about.
Yeah. Of all of his work, is there a particular piece of his that really inspires you, or is your favorite?
Sure, I'll come up with something. So I think it's actually maybe on our website. It might be our lead picture still on the Lonnie Holley doc website. And it's this rather large white, kind of white, I say, wheel, or a circle, I should say, but because it doesn't have any spokes or anything, it's unclear. Yeah, it's just a like a circle, but it's about yay thick, as in 10 inches thick, perfectly circular, and it's obviously something he's found. It's like it's God knows what it was. So Lonnie, as a maker of art, finds a television, an old TV, which he then straps by a piece of cloth, ties it into the middle of this circle. So now you have a circle with a TV in the middle of it. I mean, if a filmmaker, you can't look for a better logo than that. So
no. Well, and there's so many metaphors that you can that can come out of that too. From people looking at it. Interesting. So we're going to get to our final question. We love to ask all of our filmmakers these very nerdy questions. And it is, if you could have a weapon of choice or a superpower from within the nerd universe to fight the forces of evil, what would you choose?
Understanding the Republican Party.
I don't know if there is a power for that, but there should be.
Not a bad response, eh? We did not rehearse that. That was.
And a good response says everybody's having to go to family, dinners where everybody's probably divided, and you're like,
oh yeah,
yeah.
Here's the list of things we can't talk about.
Right. Everybody stay silent while you just watch football.
That's right.
Great answer.
Well, probably half the team is unfortunately has the virus, so that's gonna.
Pretty much. Well, great documentary about Lonnie Holley. Like I said, it's being introduced to him in college was interesting, and stuff. And I was glad I was reminded of him again, years later by seeing a film like this. So great job on it, and good luck with where you're taking it and stuff like that. And very interested to see what he is working on these days. So I'm hoping there'll be a show or something online about it.
I'm sure things will be coming to your town and many others in the next year or so. Good to meet you, Marcus.
Good to meet you too, sir.